These spelling lessons are produced for non-profit purposes out of love for Jesus Christ. This lesson, we're going to look at prefixes and suffixes. Our first syllable division rule is you will divide after a prefix. Pre means before. It is a part of a word added before the word that changes the meaning of the main root word. Try and figure out how these are going to divide. They will divide after the prefix, which are the four things shown above, and since they end in a vowel, they will have their long sound. Here is how they divide. Again, long sound and in a vowel. Reading across. Prefix, deploy, below, review. If you want to learn more about prefixes and roots and suffixes, I highly recommend Marcia Henry's Words. It also has extra spelling and phonics instruction based on each language covered. It covers Anglo-Saxon origins in English and Greek and Latin word roots. It is usually cheapest if you order directly from ProEd. Try some more of the same four prefixes. Again, they will divide after the prefix. They divide after the prefix, again making the vowel long. Knowing how to divide and pronounce word properly helps you hear the sounds correctly, which helps with their spelling. If you can sound the word out correctly and know why it's spelled the way it is, that helps spell it. Preschool, before, retract, decide. Try these four prefixes. Note that they also end with a vowel. Here is how they divide, making the vowel long. Pronoun, divert, coexist, bisect. Divert is also sometimes slightly schwa to divert. Try dividing these four. Provide, bilateral, digress, cooperate. The prefix a has its long a sound when the first syllable is accented. When the first syllable is unaccented, and thus accent is on the second or later syllable, the a will be schwad. There are many words where this beginning a is schwad, with a as a prefix. Apex, avoid, append. These four prefixes end in a consonant, so that makes their vowel short. You still divide after the prefix, though. Try these now. Enjoy, employ, inside, export. Try these three prefixes. Again, they end in a consonant. Unfair, abnormal, implode. And three others that end in a consonant. Manure, display, diffuse. And these three, they also end in consonants. Irregular, pertain, subsist. O's and A's are the two vowels most likely to schwa. Con and com, often schwa. They will schwa if that syllable, the first syllable, is unaccented. If it is accented, it will have its short O sound. These markings will help you figure out which one. If you don't know, you can try each way and see which sounds better. Also, say in your head, even if it's schwa to a slight bit of a short O sound so that you'll be easily able to remember its spelling. Condor, and when schwad, condemn. Common, and when schwad, compare. These two-syllable prefixes both end their second syllable with a vowel. Ti, the I keeps its long sound of I, but in te, the E is often schweed to the short I sound of I. This is because the relaxed position when your mouth is in an E is I. It's kind of like schwa, but instead it's the shui, going to a short I instead of a short U sound. Anti-gravity, antimatter, antedate, antecedent. Now we're going to look at suffixes. You usually divide before the suffix. These look a little bit crazy, but we're going to explain how it works and why it makes the sound that it does. Our first case of S-I-O-N, you have two S's. This makes the S keep its S sound, and if you try pronouncing I as a Y and a schwat O, real quick you get xian, xian, which sounds like shun, mission, or passion. Next, we'll look at what happens if you have a single S. Here we compare double S on top, it works the same way, xian, shun, and a single S, you have an S having its Z sound. You say it real quick, xian, you get zhen. So, the top you have vision, and the bottom you have fusion with a zh sound because of the Z sound of the S. With T-I-O-N, you get the same effect as S-S-I-O-N. You say it real fast, qian, you get shun, like in section and fraction. Here are some words with the suffixes T-I-O-N and S-I-O-N. T-I-O-N has the shun sound. S-I-O-N usually makes the shun sound. However, if the S-I-O-N is preceded by a vowel or an R, it's going to have S having a Z sound, and then it will say zhen. So try these words now, trying to figure out which ones will say zhen and which ones will say shun. And then I'll tell them to you, going across and then down. Nation, invasion, mission, section, fusion, version, conclusion. Version has an R before the S, so it has a Z sound and makes zhen, and the others have a vowel, the others that said zhen. Long U is made up of the sound of ya and then a long double O, oo. U. If you say these real fast with a ya, oo pronunciation of a U, you get what ends up on the right. Cheer, chur. Sure, sure. Shall, shall. And that's why these endings sound like they sound, even though it doesn't look exactly like how it is spelled. If we have S as Z, you can end up with zher instead of sure, like in the word measure. The suffix seed can be spelled three different ways. The most common way is C-E-D-E, and most words are spelled this way. However, the three top underlying words, C-E-E-D, are spelled like that, and only these three, however. And there is one word, the word underlined on the bottom, that is spelled S-E-D-E, supersede. But remember, C-E-D-E is the most common. It can be tricky to figure out how a word ending in the sound of ol is spelled, el or le. It helps to know that most words end in le. It is far, far more common. And el often follows the letters s, z, or v. When you're dividing before them, the le will divide one letter before the le, like a and then bull. And el will divide directly before the el, like lev, ol, and cam, ol. Er and en are simple suffixes that you'll divide before. One consonant long vowel, two consonant short vowel. Ing works the same way. You need two consonants to keep the vowel short and one long. IVE is another common suffix. However, the E is just holding up the V, and it is actually short IV, because English words do not end in V's. AGE, IGE, and UGE are not exactly suffixes, but we'll talk about how they affect the spelling and sounds of words. AGE in short words like age or wage, normally the A stays long. However, it's unaccented at the end. It is schwed to the short I sound, and it sounds closer to vestige. The E at the end is making the G have its J sound. UGE at the end will usually keep a long U sound, like in this word, centrifuge. Here is a quick review of the spelling of just sound in shorter words. Long vowel words, a simple GE has the just sound. The E keeps the vowel long, and the G is acting as a J, the E keeping it, having a J sound. For short vowel words, you need two consonants to keep the vowel short. Double G's would say gaja, so a D is added as an extra consonant, and which still allows to keep the J sound and keep the vowel short. Here are some suffix rules for plurals. Words ending in a hissing sound add es. All others add s. But words ending in an o are a bit different. They can either add es or s. Words ending in an f sometimes change to their consonant pair sound of v and then add an es. However, sometimes they just add an s. And here, some final silent E rules. A final silent E is normally dropped when adding a suffix that begins with a vowel, like in our top row here. Move, able ends with a vowel, so you drop the silent E when adding it. However, there are some exceptions. If we drop the E in a word with a C or a G, that would change the sound of that letter. So the E needs to be kept to keep the C and G soft. Also, the silent E is kept when adding a suffix that begins with a consonant, like in the top three words. The bottom two, we show that there's no C or G to keep soft, so when you add one that ends with a vowel, you drop the E. The bottom two have both a prefix and a suffix, which makes the able schwa to a. Final endings are more likely to schwa the more syllables there are in a word. Unmistakable, unshakable. If an E is part of a letter team, like OE or EE, then it's not really silent. It's part of a letter team helping to make it sound, and it is normally not dropped when adding a suffix beginning with a vowel, like these words here. Ho, hoeing, I, eyeing, see, seeing. The E is needed to help make that sound. However, even for this rule, there is an exception. English is, unfortunately, full of exceptions. For words that end in a U or W before an E, the E will be dropped when adding a suffix. So argue and true will change to arguing and truly, and ah will change to awful. Here are a few more examples of words where you add in a suffix that begins with a consonant. Whenever you're adding a suffix that ends with a consonant, you will keep the silent E. And two more examples of this. In the top word, you need the E for two reasons. One, to keep the J sound of the G, and also because you're adding a suffix that begins with a consonant. Phew! We're finally done with final silent E's. The last thing we're going to look at is a final Y. The final Y will normally change to an I when adding a suffix that starts with a vowel. And here are some examples. However, this being English, there is also an exception to remember. When you're adding a suffix that starts with I, you need to keep the Y. So, bury, when you change to buried, it changes to an I, but when you're adding ing, you keep the Y. Try, in tried it changes to I, but when adding ing, you need to keep the Y. There are also a few more exceptions, the most common case being adding ness. When you're adding the suffix nex, you keep the Y. Also, just like with E's, if the Y is not just hanging out, but is part of a vowel team that makes a sound, like oi, or E, or A, then it's necessary to make the sound, so you will just add the suffix. And if the Y is part of a vowel team, you will also keep the Y even if you're adding a suffix that begins with I. Like you keep the Y when it's part of the vowel team AY in relaying and playing. Watch as I read through James 4. Prefixes and suffixes will be underlined, and consonant pairs will be in red. S as a Z, F as a V, and also, as in yourselves, an F changing to a V. Yourself, yourselves. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lusts that war in your members? Ye lust and have not. Ye kill and desire to have, and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, yet ye have not, because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lusts. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Do ye think that the Scripture saith in vain, the Spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy? But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted, and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Speak not evil of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother, and judgeth his brother, speaketh evil of the law, and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judgest another? Go to now, ye that say, Today or tomorrow we will go into such a city, and continue there a year, and buy and sell, and get gain. Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. For that ye ought to say, If the Lord will, we shall live, and do this or that. But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good, and doeth it not, to him it is sin.